In this short and impermanent human life, we are often swept into the whirlpool of gain and loss, victory and defeat, right and wrong, things that seem important, but are in fact just gentle ripples on the surface of the lake of life. People, in trying to prove they are right, to hold on to what is correct, to have the final say, give rise to afflictions, resentment, hatred, and endless arguments. But the Buddha taught that life is impermanent, the body is illusory, the mind is conditioned, and everything will eventually fade away like morning mist at the alley. So then, to be concerned about who is right or wrong, who is better or worse, who speaks the last word, isn't that a voluntary entanglement in the net of ego and suffering? A true practitioner of the Buddha's teachings does not look at life with the discriminating eyes of arrogance, but with the wisdom eye of non-self. When one clearly sees that all phenomena are without inherent nature, when one understands that the self is just a provisional name formed by the five aggregates, form, feeling, perception, mental formation, and consciousness, what reason remains to compete for something that is not truly real? A wise person does not lose their inner peace because of a few hurtful words, does not trade their inner stillness for a single insult, does not give up the serenity of the present moment for an argument. They choose silence, not because there is nothing to say, but because they have clearly seen the futility of back and forth words. They choose to smile, not because they do not feel hurt, but because they have learned how not to let their mind be controlled by the emotions of others. They choose to let go, not because they do not dare to face things, but because they know that holding on only makes the mind heavier, more troubled, and farther from peace. Some people think that silence is weakness, that letting go is losing. But in the light of the Buddha's wisdom, that is not a sign of failure, but the highest expression of wisdom. Only when the mind is steady enough, the wisdom bright enough, the heart spacious enough, can one stop amid conflict without being swept along. Only with true inner strength can one refrain from raising their voice to defend themselves, refrain from struggling to assert their self-worth, because they know that such value does not lie in worldly praise or criticism, but in the calm of each breath, in the peaceful steps taken amid a life full of snares. The wise do not use their energy to strive for external victory, but to transform their inner world, to illuminate their own dark corners, to release the bindings that imprison them in the cycle of suffering and attachment.
They understand that when a person tries to argue to win, even if they win the logic, they have lost in compassion. When someone uses sharp words to hurt others, they are also hurting their own heart. And when a person places the ego above all else, they are closing themselves off from the possibility of true connection with life. In the Buddha's teachings, letting go does not mean neglect or passivity, but actively refusing to be entangled in unwholesome things, choosing to keep peace in the mind rather than holding on to anger. Letting go is an act of wisdom and compassion. Wisdom helps us see the impermanent and unreal nature of all things, while compassion helps us understand that others are also suffering like us, and thus there is no need to push each other deeper into the abyss of anger and hatred. To choose silence is not to avoid, but a gentle reminder to oneself that my mind is more important than being right. To smile is not to pretend, but a sign that the mind is no longer dependent on external conditions to define happiness. And to let go is not to forget everything, but to release attachment, to loosen the grip on what cannot be controlled, in order to preserve an open heart and a light soul. When people no longer worry about winning or losing, they begin to live with the ease of those who have understood the way. They do not try to argue with those who are wrong, because they know that ignorance cannot be subdued by words, but only through transformation. They do not seek to punish those who hurt them, because they understand that those who cause pain to others are themselves in great pain, and they do not waste time seeking justice in a world that constantly changes, because true justice lies in the mindfulness and compassion of each person, not in any judgment that comes from outside the heart. In daily life, if we know how to take a step back, if we know how to take a deep breath before reacting, if we know how to ask ourselves, is this really worth losing my peace over? Then perhaps we will avoid many arguments, avoid words we will later regret, and most importantly, preserve our hearts in the storms of life. When the mind is at peace, the world is at peace. Those who know how to let go are those who have learned to love themselves in the deepest way, by not allowing themselves to be hurt by what is unnecessary. Each time we let go, we move closer to inner freedom. Each time we choose calm instead of conflict, we open a new door for happiness to enter. And each time we smile when we could be angry, we are creating a space of peace, not only for ourselves, but also for the world around us. Like the lotus, unstained by mud. Like the sun, untouched by clouds. The wise do not let their hearts be covered by the storms of gossip and strife. And they do not need to affirm themselves by defeating others, because the greatest victory is the victory over oneself, the victory over the habit of reacting, the victory over sudden anger, the victory over pride, and the need to always be right. In that silence, in that smile, in that decision to let go, there is a whole sky of understanding, a treasure of wisdom, a path to liberation that the Buddhas have walked, the patriarchs have realized, and every child of the Buddha can reach if they know how to return to themselves. So, when faced with conflict, please remember this. Keeping your mind at peace is more important than keeping the upper hand. Keeping your heart generous is more important than keeping sharp words. And keeping your smile in silence is to keep a whole Pure Land within your own heart.
Each person exists in this life like a practitioner walking their own unique path of suffering and transformation, where even if we move in the same direction, we still must walk alone through the rugged roads of karma, wounds, and imperfection. In the view of Buddhist teachings, suffering is not punishment, but an inevitable part of life that has both body and mind. And therefore, no one can avoid suffering, only its forms are different. Some suffer from physical illness. Some suffer from loneliness of the soul. Some suffer from loss. Some suffer from emptiness amidst abundance. Whether that suffering comes from circumstances, from people, or from ourselves, the truth remains unchanged. No one can bear that suffering for us, and no one can save us from it except ourselves. The Buddha once taught that among the Four Noble Truths, the first is suffering, acknowledging that suffering is real. But what he truly meant to teach was not for us to surrender to suffering, but to begin the journey of understanding it, discovering its cause, and overcoming it through the transformation of consciousness. And on that path, no one, no matter how beloved, how close, or how revered, can walk it in our place. They can share, support, guide, but they cannot suffer for us, cannot let go for us, and cannot awaken in our place, because the inner world is a door that only opens from within, and the light of peace only truly shines when we ourselves switch on the lamp of mindfulness. Therefore, one of the first signs of wisdom is the acceptance of responsibility for one's own happiness and suffering. As long as we continue to blame others, to hope for rescue from outside, to believe that only when circumstances change can we find peace, we are still living in illusion. But when we return inward, look deeply into the roots of our suffering, when we sit down in silence with ourselves and honestly ask, what am I holding on to that is disturbing my heart? That is the very first moment of true freedom. Simplifying life does not mean living poorly, but living freely. It does not mean discarding all material things, but letting go of unnecessary entanglements in thoughts, emotions, and desires. Life becomes complicated not because there is too much to do, but because there are too many things we do not dare to release. We want to be loved, but are afraid of being hurt. We want to be recognized, but are afraid of being judged. We want success, but fear failure.
And these inner contradictions cause us to live in anxiety, self-torment, and fatigue. But if we know how to return to the breath, if we know how to listen to the bell of mindfulness within, if we know how to slow down and realize that most of our troubles are created by our own minds, then we will begin to see the inherent simplicity of life.
The warm cup of tea, a quiet afternoon, a peaceful gaze, an unhurried step. These are enough to nurture happiness. Sorrow does not arise on its own. It is the result of attachment, comparison, expectation, and disappointment. If we learn to see things as they are, instead of as we want them to be, if we accept others as they are, instead of as we think they should be, if we welcome life with a mind free of judgment, free of labeling, free of resistance, then we will realize that most suffering does not come from the situation itself, but from the way we think about it. Someone saying something that makes us sad does not truly cause our suffering. It is our ego, our expectations, our interpretation that are the deeper causes. Therefore, letting go is not passive. It is not denial of reality, but the most courageous act, the willingness to look directly at the root of suffering, the willingness to release the habitual grip on emotions, fame, gain, and loss. Letting go does not take away anything important. It only removes what is no longer necessary. Like a bird that wants to soar must let go of the branch. Like a boat that wants to sail must release the anchor. Like a drop of water that wants to return to the great ocean must fall from the cloud, we too must let go of attachments, comparisons, envy, resentment, those things that quietly pollute the soul in order to reach true peace. Only when we let go can space for awareness appear. Only when the heart is light can we clearly see the simple things that bring happiness. Only when we stop clinging to wounds can we truly embrace ourselves with gentleness. And only when we stop expecting someone else to make us happy can we realize that we ourselves already have the full capacity to cultivate happiness through mindful, compassionate, and awakened living. The Buddha never promised that life would be free of suffering if we followed him, but he pointed out a path to transcend suffering by recognizing it, understanding it, and practicing letting go bit by bit in the present moment. That path is not for those seeking miracles, but for those brave enough to return to themselves and take responsibility for their own being. So look deeply into yourself. Do not demand that others make you happy. Do not blame circumstances for your pain. Do not wait for a perfect tomorrow, but begin today. From this very moment, from this very breath, you can already simplify your life, stop the endless pursuit, and realize that peace is not far away. It is right here, in every moment you are truly present. It is right within you. the only one who can bring yourself out of suffering, with understanding, with loving kindness, and with a determination not to compromise with unrest. And when you choose to let go of one sorrow, you are not only freeing yourself, but also creating a peaceful space for others. When you live simply, you are not only living peacefully, but also planting a seed of mindfulness into the world. And when you understand that only you can save yourself, that is the moment you take the first steps on the path of liberation, peace, and enlightenment.
Suffering is not something others give to us, nor is it a twisted fate arranged by the universe, but the results of what we ourselves have cultivated in our minds through each thought, each emotion, each attachment we refuse to release. The Buddha taught that all suffering originates from greed, anger, and ignorance, the three poisons that cloud the inner stream, which is originally pure and serene. When we do not get what we desire, greed causes our suffering. When we face adversity, anger causes our suffering. When we do not see the truth clearly, ignorance leads us astray and causes us to continue hurting ourselves. It all begins from within, not from the outside. Some people live in palaces but are constantly restless and empty, while others dwell in humble homes yet feel peaceful and content, because peace does not come from material things, but from how we perceive life. When we understand the root of suffering, we no longer blame life or seek someone to fault. We begin to realize that it is our attachments, our expectations, our endless desires that are the roots of suffering. And so the key to ending suffering does not lie in controlling everything outside, but in learning to let go from within. Letting go does not mean giving up or turning away from life, but choosing not to carry unnecessary burdens along our path. Letting go is the action of an awakened person, one who understands that nothing is permanent, nothing is absolute. That person learns to accept what cannot be changed and to release what no longer fits. Letting go is not losing, it is allowing oneself to be light and at ease. Like a traveler on a long journey, if they keep clinging to old baggage, they will not have the strength to continue. But if they know how to set it down, they can go farther, deeper, and more peacefully. The Buddha once taught that the one who knows how to let go is the happiest, because they are not bound by the past, not anxious about the future, but live fully in the present. When we let go of a wound, it does not mean we deny it, but we no longer let it control our emotions and dictate our life.
When we let go of a person, it does not mean we no longer love them, but that we respect their choice and allow both to be free. When we let go of an ambition, it does not mean we are weak, but that we understand success does not define us, and sometimes simple happiness is the greatest treasure. Letting go is a profound art of living, a way to renew our soul. When we release sorrow, we create space for joy to enter. When we release hatred, we make room for love to grow. When we release control, we open the door for the natural flow of all things. And in that very process, we begin to see clearly that there are still many beautiful things ahead. Only that in the past, we were too caught up in what was lost to notice what was already present. Just like when we release a stone from our hand, the lake's surface becomes calm again. When we let go of torment, resentment, and worries in our mind, our inner world also becomes peaceful. It is that very peace which forms the fertile ground for compassion, wisdom, faith, and hope to grow. When no longer bound by negative thoughts, we begin to see life with new eyes, the eyes of mindfulness, understanding, and empathy. At that moment, even the smallest things, like the sound of birds singing in the morning, sunlight filtering through the leaves, or a tender glance, are enough to make us smile. And that very smile is the proof that we are living with a free soul, no longer dragged by the past or pulled by expectations. Buddhist teachings say that life is impermanent. Everything will change, will fade away, will not be as we wish.
But it is precisely impermanence that gives us the chance to renew, to begin again, to let go of the old and embrace the new. If spring lasted forever, we would never have the chance to witness the full beauty of summer, the gentleness of autumn, or the stillness of winter. Likewise, if we keep clinging to old things, to sorrows, failures, or dreams that never came true, we will not be able to see the light of beautiful things waiting for us ahead. Each time we let go of something, we are also opening the door for something new to come in. Each time we dare to let go, we are practicing a step on the path of enlightenment, because letting go is an act of wisdom and compassion. We are compassionate with ourselves when we stop forcing ourselves to hold on to things that hurt us. We are wise when we realize that this life is precious and should not be wasted on things that cannot be changed. Letting go does not require many words, no need for declarations. Letting go is a quiet act, but full of power. It does not make noise, but transforms the depths of our inner being. A person who truly lets go is not weak, but someone who understands the nature of life, knowing that nothing belongs to us forever, not even this body. Therefore, they choose to live lightly, to love without attachment, to give their best without demanding outcomes, to be fully present in every moment. And that is why they are the happiest, not because life gives them more, but because they know how to let go of more. When you look back on the path you've walked, you'll see what hurt you most was not the loss, but the stubborn clinging.
What made you suffer most was not adversity, but the way you resisted it. And what bound you most was not the situation, but the mind that refused to let go. So, If you truly want to live a peaceful life, don't wait for perfection from the outside, but begin from within with a very small but deeply transformative decision, the decision to let go. Letting go does not mean losing. It means you are returning to yourself, opening your heart to life, telling the universe, I am ready to be at peace. And from that moment on, you will see life is no longer so heavy, your heart is no longer so full, your eyes will shine brighter, your steps will feel lighter, and your soul will be as peaceful as a morning lake.
Life in the human world is not always paved with roses, nor is it a gentle song without ripples, but rather a long sequence of ups and downs, of happiness intertwined with suffering, of fleeting joys woven with deep sorrows. The Buddha once taught that life is a sea of suffering, but suffering is not something to be blamed or escaped from. It is a lesson for us to learn how to live mindfully, to understand the truth of life, and from there transform suffering into wisdom and compassion. When we step into life, no one can choose for themselves ideal circumstances or a path that remains smooth forever. There will be times when we must face loss, failure, adversity, even seemingly unreasonable things that defy explanation. But instead of blaming life for being unfair, a person with insight will choose to turn inward, to reflect on themselves, and to learn how to be content with what they have. Being content does not mean resignation or surrender, but a deep awakening that what we have is already enough for peace if we know how to live fully with it. The one who knows contentment lives with a heart that does not demand, does not compare, does not endlessly crave. Such a person understands that if we constantly chase after external things like fame, wealth, praise, or victory, our heart will never find ease, but will forever be dragged along by the endless cycle of desire and competition. When we compare ourselves to others, we lose the joy of the present moment. When we compete and harbor anger, we turn our mind into a battlefield in which peace can never take root. Anger is a fire that burns the inner self. Every time we become angry, we not only hurt others, but also burn ourselves. A word spoken in anger can leave consequences for many years. An action driven by anger can destroy an entire relationship. And the frightening thing is that anger does not require a big reason. Just one small thing going against our wishes can be enough to ignite an entire forest of peace we have worked hard to cultivate.
The Buddha taught that anger is one of the 3 great poisons of the mind, and to be free from it, we must often contemplate impermanence, that everything changes,
that the person who angers us today will one day leave us, that we ourselves are but an impermanent stream, unable to hold on to anything for long. Only when we see that truth can we stop, let go, and cease tormenting ourselves over things unworthy of our suffering. Striving and scrambling in life may seem unavoidable, but the more we scramble and compete, the more troubled our hearts become, and the more weary our body and mind. In a society that constantly promotes competition and glorifies those who succeed at any cost, the one who knows how to step back, to yield, to choose goodness, is the one with the greatest inner strength. The Buddha once said that conquering 1,000 enemies is not as great as conquering oneself. To conquer oneself is to overcome the ego, to overcome greed, to overcome anger and delusion. When we learn to live with a quiet mind, not competing, not grasping, not letting ourselves be swept away by the whirlpool of winning and losing, that is when we are truly living the path of the awakened. And only then can we truly feel what it means to be light, to find happiness not from the outside, but from the inner peace within. The deadlock that many people experience does not truly come from circumstances, but from a heart that does not know contentment, a heart that always demands.
A person who is materially wealthy but does not know contentment will still feel lacking. A person who has all the material conditions for living but lacks inner peace will always feel discontent. But someone who lives simply with plain meals of rice and vegetables, yet holds gratitude and a humble heart, will still see life as precious, with each moment being a blessing. Knowing what is enough is the greatest treasure. One who knows contentment will feel happy even in poverty. One who does not know contentment will feel lacking even when possessing everything. The Buddha's teachings guide us to live simply, to slow down and truly feel, to see clearly what the true value of life is. Life is not just about gaining as much as possible or competing as fiercely as possible, but about knowing when to stop, knowing how to cherish small things, choosing goodness and avoiding harmful actions. Sometimes a gentle gaze, a kind word, a moment of yielding can soothe a wounded soul. And at times a hug, a hand held, or simply a smile can restore faith in the midst of a chaotic world. Choosing to live virtuously amid uncertainty, choosing to keep the heart pure amidst confusion and noise, that is the mark of true strength. Each passing day is an opportunity for us to practice returning to ourselves, to practice letting go of anger and greed, to lessen our striving and increase our compassion. Every morning when we wake, we can choose that today will be a day when we do not get angry at anyone, Do not envy anyone. Do not complain about anything. We choose to smile, to be grateful, to do good deeds. In that moment, our mind naturally becomes lighter, our body healthier, and each step, each breath brings peace. And if we can do that each day, this life, even if it is not perfect, will still be truly beautiful. Because beauty does not lie in external circumstances, but in the way we perceive, in the way we live with a mindful heart and a sense of sufficiency.
If you are feeling weary, if you are feeling trapped in striving and anger, then stop struggling in that endless loop. Stop. Listen to your breath. Listen to your heart. Ask yourself, what is making me restless? What am I trying to hold on to that cannot be held? What can I let go of so my heart can be lighter? And you will see, it is not life that is too harsh, but you who are holding on to too much. It is not others who are hurting you, but you who are allowing your heart to be hurt. It is not life that forces you to compete, but you who have forgotten that there is another path, the path of mindfulness, understanding, and compassion. Choose that path. Live a simple life, a life without anger, a life without competition. Because when your heart is at peace, whether the sky rains or shines, you will still feel serene. When your mind is pure, no matter how much the world changes, you will remain steady like a rock in the stream. This is the path the Buddha once walked, and it is also the path that you, if you truly seek peace, can begin to walk from today.
Letting go of resentment is not only an act of forgiveness, but also a major turning point in the journey of inner cultivation. When we resent someone or a certain event in life, it is the moment we imprison ourselves in the toxic emotions we carry. Resentment is like a fire that burns away compassion, consumes inner peace, and turns our once gentle heart into a dark place where the light of wisdom cannot reach. The Buddha taught that anger is one of the 3 poisons, along with greed and ignorance, that trap humans in the cycle of suffering. When the heart still harbors resentment, the mouth may smile, but the inside is full of hidden blades. When the heart has not let go, even if the other person is no longer present in our life, their shadow still haunts us, their words still pierce our heart, and we continue to suffer. But when we truly learn to let go, it is not that we forget, but that we are no longer bound by it. Letting go of resentment is not because the other person deserves forgiveness, but because we deserve peace. It is at the very moment we release the burden of hatred that our steps become lighter, no longer chained by the past. Failure is inevitable in life. No matter how careful we are, no matter how hard we try, there will be times when we stumble, when life does not go as planned. If we carry resentment after each failure,
we will only sink deeper into despair and self-doubt. But if we learn to accept failure as a lesson, an opportunity to grow, then failure will no longer be a wound, but the very material to forge resilience. Only when we release resentment can we see the whole picture. Can we be clear-minded enough to know what we need to adjust, what we need to learn more, and then continue to strive.
A wise person is not someone who has never failed, but someone who knows how to rise again, with a heart free of blame, free of bitterness, and filled with determination and gratitude for every experience past. Being tolerant of others is not only a noble moral quality, but also a way to open the path for ourselves. When we hold too much judgment, criticism, and expectations for others to be like us, to live like us, our inner path becomes narrow, and we ourselves are the ones being suffocated by those very expectations. But when we learn to see others with eyes of compassion, understanding that everyone has their own suffering, that everyone has made mistakes, and that everyone needs time to transform, our hearts become more tolerant and life becomes lighter. Forgiving others may not change them, but it surely changes us. When the heart is no longer tied to right and wrong, to winning and losing, only then are we truly free. And when the inner self has that freedom, all external entanglements also become smaller. All anger gradually melts away like morning dew in the sunlight. In daily life, negative emotions come and go like passing clouds. But suffering truly begins when we cling to those emotions, when we let one moment of anger ruin the entire day, when we let a single word spoil our mood, when we let a painful memory control the decisions we make in the present. The Buddha taught that emotions are like waves. They arise and fade, they rise high and then dissolve. If we only know how to chase after them or try to suppress them, we will always be adrift. But if we know how to sit still, breathe in and out in mindfulness, and recognize the emotion, like a mother recognizing the cry of her child, then we are no longer pulled away by that emotion. We become the master of our mind, not the victim of it. Negative emotions, anger, jealousy, sadness, hurt, dissatisfaction, all stem from mistaken perceptions, from a wounded ego, from unfulfilled expectations. But when we look deeply into those causes, we see that all of them are fleeting shadows, lacking true substance. They come and go, like rain that comes and then clears.
No one can force themselves to be happy forever, but neither is anyone doomed to be sad forever. Happiness or suffering lies in what we choose to hold on to, and letting go is exactly that choice. The choice not to hold on to hatred, not to cling to what has passed,
not to imprison ourselves in thoughts that hurt us. A person with insight is one who understands that all things in life are impermanent. Whatever comes will go. Whoever comes will also go. Every emotion will eventually settle. Nothing lasts forever. And within that impermanence, only understanding and compassion can save our souls from the silent storms. When we give rise to loving kindness toward the person who hurt us, when we sincerely wish them peace, we ourselves are the first to be liberated. This is not mere doctrine, but a lived experience proven by thousands of practitioners before us. Do not hold in your heart what makes it heavy. Let it go. Learn to live like a stream, cool, gentle, unobstructed, and unentangled. Look at life through the eyes of the Buddha. See suffering, but hold no hatred. See mistakes, but pass no judgment. See impermanence, yet still choose to love. Because in the end, what we seek is not a perfect life, but a free soul, able to dwell peacefully amid imperfections. Letting go is not rejecting life, but living more deeply, more fully with each moment. Whenever you feel hurt, return to the breath. Whenever anger arises, close your eyes, think of someone you love, and ask yourself, if they saw me like this, how would they feel? Whenever you are swept away by negative emotions, ask yourself, is this truly something worth carrying with me for the rest of my life? And you will realize lightness is a precious gift. Serenity is a path anyone can walk. And letting go, forgiveness, compassion, these are not just teachings, but keys that unlock the door to liberation, helping us walk from suffering into peace.
Do not let your mind fall into the vortex of suffering just because of things that were never truly yours. For in this ever-changing world, countless things come and go like the wind, like drifting clouds, and nothing can be held on to forever. The Buddha taught that all conditioned phenomena are impermanent. All things and events are constantly changing. So if we cling to anything as ours, reputation, possessions, affection, status, it is like trying to grasp a cloud. The tighter we cling, the more we suffer. When our mind is attached to external things, we are entrusting our happiness to circumstances. If we lose them, we suffer. If we gain them, we worry about keeping them. In both states, there is no true peace. Therefore, a wise person is one who knows when to let go, who knows how to cherish what is present without attachment, who acts with love without possessiveness, who gives without expecting anything in return. This is not an indifferent lifestyle, but a wise choice to protect one's soul from the consequences of craving and attachment. When we do something, let us do it with all sincerity and a spirit of service. For in Buddhism, action is what we can control, while the result depends on causes and conditions.
We can sow a good seed and tend it daily, but the weather, the soil, the pests are factors beyond our control. Likewise, in life, we should not be overly concerned with how others receive us, whether they understand or repay us or even betray us. Let us live like a flower, blooming and offering fragrance and color, whether or not anyone comes to admire it. Whether storms strike or not, the flower remains a flower, still spreading its scent. That is the quality of one who lives mindfully, not doing good for praise, nor ceasing to do good because of criticism. Such a person has a mind that is always at ease, not anxious about gain or loss, not suffering from failure or jealous of others' success. In the Buddhist view, a kind heart is a refreshing spring that nourishes both oneself and the world. When we generate a wholesome thought, even before taking action, that energy of compassion begins to radiate and nourish our body and mind. Like a lamp, when it lights another, it also shines upon itself.
A kind action, a gentle word, a peaceful thought, they are beautiful flowers in a barren world. Sunlight that melts the ice within hearts, a soft breeze that dispels nameless gloom from the mind. And wonderfully, a person with a kind heart is often supported by heaven and earth, by good people, by peaceful energies in the universe. Not because they pray for it, but because they are in harmony with truth, goodness, and beauty. So what they need will arrive at the right time. There is no need to compete, no need to scheme. Just keep the heart unmoved and walk the right path, and naturally, good conditions will bear sweet fruit. We live in a world full of temptations and challenges, sometimes witnessing human fickleness, our efforts being denied, goodness not immediately rewarded, while evil seems to benefit more quickly. But remember, karma never errs. It only varies in speed and clarity. The seed sown today may not bloom until the next season or even the next life. So do not lose heart when results have not yet come. Do not harbor resentment when recognition has not yet arrived. Every time we live well, act rightly, and keep a pure heart, we are planting good seeds for ourselves and for life. Do not let your kindness be extinguished by someone's indifference. Do not let your sincerity waver just because it went unanswered once. Simply keep doing what needs to be done. Keep your heart upright, and let all results follow their own course. Some things may not go as planned at first, but they may lead to a better path. Some rejections later reveal themselves as hidden protection. Those who follow the Buddhist path must remain steady amid praise and blame, gain and loss, learning to turn inward for strength rather than chasing external validation. Observe the lotus. Though it grows in mud, it is not tainted by the stench. It still rises in purity. People, too, amid a turbulent world, if they maintain a pure mind, free of greed, anger, and delusion, then regardless of circumstances, their hearts will remain unharmed. When we understand this, life becomes lighter. Instead of resentment, we feel gratitude. Instead of forcefulness, we follow the flow. Instead of blaming, we listen. The mind no longer trembles at things beyond reach, because we understand that life is a continuous flow of causes and conditions, and our role is simply to plant the right seeds.
The Buddha taught, beings who create karma will receive its fruits. No one can escape karma, and no one can bear it on our behalf. So live in a way that you are not ashamed of yourself, so that whatever happens tomorrow, there will be no regret for what you have done. When you live with a kind heart, whether or not anyone understands you, the heavens and the earth will know. Your heart will be at peace, and your life will blossom in its season. Learn to make your mind like a still lake. Even if the wind blows, the surface remains calm. Live like a star, silently shining in the night sky. And remember, everything you are giving today will return to you, in one way or another, at one time or another, but it will surely return. That is the wondrous power of kindness, the fruit of a soul no longer clinging to things that do not belong to it, the freedom of one who knows how to live rightly, beautifully, and in the light of the Dharma.
Don't be sad because of the world, because this world does not exist to please anyone in particular. It constantly turns according to the law of cause and effect and impermanence. All phenomena are like a flow. They do not wait. They do not stop because of the sadness of one individual. Even if today we are sorrowful, disappointed, resentful, or regretful, life still operates according to its own laws. The sun still rises, the rain still falls, people still walk, and life still goes on. In Buddhist teachings, this is called Dharma nature, the natural nature of all things, which is not bound to our wishes or emotions. When we understand this, we will learn to accept that sadness is a part of life, but it is not everything. Just as a dark cloud is only a fleeting part of the sky and cannot block the eternal light of the sun, suffering is only a temporary phase in our spiritual journey. The Buddha taught that all suffering comes from the mind, and it is also from the mind that the path of liberation is opened. Therefore, when our mind is still bound by unfulfilled desires, painful memories, and unfinished hopes, we are still tied in the cycle of suffering. But if we know how to let go, how to open our hearts to receive the present as it is, then right here and now, peace will arise. Everyone has a past, and in it there may be things that make us regret, grieve, or feel remorse. But Buddhism does not call us to deny the past, nor to forget it, but teaches us to look at the past with the light of mindfulness, to recognize it calmly, without judgment, without torment. Yesterday is already the past, and we cannot go back to change it. But the present moment is the most fertile ground to sow good seeds for the future. Therefore, let us learn to let go of what has passed, as if removing an old garment, to make the heart lighter, the body more relaxed, and the mind open to a new day. Believing in tomorrow is not an illusion or a vain hope, but a deep trust in the miraculous workings of conditions.
A person who lives kindly today, who keeps their mind pure, who speaks with loving words and acts with compassion, will certainly reap sweet fruit tomorrow, even if not immediately. The Buddha taught that whatever seed we sow, we will harvest its fruit. So as long as we live rightly and well, tomorrow, whatever it may be, will be a new beginning full of hope. Let us see life as a long journey with many stops. Some are joyful, some are sorrowful. Some are filled with blooming flowers, others covered in dark clouds. But a stop is not the end. It is only a time to pause, to reflect on the journey so far, to breathe deeply and prepare for the next step with more steadiness. In life, sometimes we are forced to stop because of failure, loss, illness, or inner pain. But if we see that as a fateful turn or an end, we will lose all our faith and guiding light. If instead we understand that this is just a pause, a chance to adjust our path, to reflect on our life purpose, to tend to the wounds of our soul, then that pause will not weaken us, but make us stronger, more determined, and more awake. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha taught that there is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. When we still believe that we must achieve something to be happy, we are still conditioned and suffering. But if we know how to live fully in each moment, whether walking, eating, breathing, or even facing hardship, then in that very moment we are living in happiness. Peace does not lie in the destination, but in how we walk the path. If today we can smile, let go of a burden in our hearts, forgive someone who hurt us, and love ourselves rightly, then surely tomorrow will be brighter. Each morning is a new beginning. Each breath is a chance to start over. Each day of life is a privilege not everyone has. When we wake up and feel grateful that we are still present in this life, we have already planted a wholesome seed for the whole day.
Let us learn to see the world through the eyes of compassion and to see ourselves in the light of wisdom. Do not wait for the world to change so we can be happy, but change the way we see the world, and happiness will naturally arise. Do not blame circumstances, for every circumstance is an opportunity for practice, to understand ourselves more clearly. A storm does not come to punish, but to help the trees shed their withered branches. Likewise, challenges in life do not come to defeat us, but to help us grow, become more resilient and wiser. And finally, live like a river, flowing but never dry, flexible but never lost, accepting all obstacles while still preserving its pure essence. When we understand that everything is just a stop, that all joys and sorrows are impermanent, that tomorrow can still be different from today if we sow new seeds, then our mind will become free amidst countless changes. That is the wisdom of one who lives in the light of the Buddhist teachings, one who is not defeated by sorrow, not drowned by despair, but knows how to rise from where they fell, open their heart to tomorrow, and see each moment of life as a priceless gift.
Each day of life is a priceless gift that not everyone has the chance to receive. Therefore, while our breath still flows, our heart still beats, and our eyes can still see the light, we must cherish every present moment as if it were the last moment of our lives. In Buddhist teachings, life is impermanent, meaning nothing lasts forever, nothing is certain, and no moment can ever return. Thus, a person with wisdom is one who knows how to live deeply with each day they have, who does not postpone gratitude, does not waste time on trivialities, and does not let the mind be swept away by anger, competition, or blame. When we understand that each day is an opportunity to be reborn in this very life, we begin to view everything with the light of mindfulness and compassion. And in that spirit, giving becomes a sacred act, no longer bound by the expectation of return. Offering a smile, a kind inquiry, a gentle action, or even just a quiet presence beside someone in pain, all are simple yet profound ways to nourish inner peace. The Buddha taught, when you give with an unburdened heart, you are the richest person. To give does not lose. It is the process of expanding the soul, a path that brings us closer to the compassionate nature inherent in all beings. One who lives for others without calculating gain or recognition is someone who is accumulating invisible merit, a kind of wealth no one can take away, and the firm foundation for a resilient inner life. On the journey of life, no one can avoid trials, obstacles, or seemingly hopeless stages. But for a Buddhist practitioner, difficulties are not disasters. They are opportunities to train the mind and cultivate virtue. Just as gold must be tested by fire to become pure, the human mind must be tempered through adversity to become mature and steady.
The Buddha did not promise that practitioners would not encounter suffering, but he taught that with wisdom, one can find light within suffering, discover lessons in failure, and see a path even at a dead end. When we look at hardship with right view, we realize that it is not a barrier to progress, but a stairway that leads us deeper into ourselves, to discern what we need to hold on to and what we should release. In every upheaval and every storm, we may lose something, sometimes material things, sometimes loved ones, sometimes faith or hope. But if we can keep ourselves, preserve our goodness, and maintain our calm, we will emerge as a better version of ourselves. That is the meaning of spiritual growth, not the absence of suffering, but the ability to live with suffering, with tranquility and an open heart. A meaningful life is not one lived merely for self-satisfaction, but one connected to the values of humanity, to the pain of others, and to the spirit of selflessness that the Buddha awakened. When we live with the ideal of service, with a heart untroubled by fame and gain, then naturally even hardships become joy, for we know that every effort we make has value, even if no one notices. The Buddha taught, "No merit is greater than bringing benefit to sentient beings." Therefore, a small action born from sincerity and altruism can become a seed of future liberation. When we understand this, we no longer measure what we do by scale, but focus on the quality of the heart in every action, because a wholesome mind is the root of all true happiness. In a world full of turmoil, where many people live in haste, chasing and losing themselves in the whirlwind of gain and loss, choosing to live slowly, to live deeply, with gratitude and tolerance, is a revolutionary act of consciousness. We do not need to accomplish great deeds to make life meaningful. Simply living fully with each day, each moment, each action means we are already walking the path of awakening. For enlightenment is not somewhere far away, but is the capacity to be awake in everyday life, where we know how to smile at challenges, to quietly sow goodness, and to return to ourselves with each breath. When we live like that, life is no longer just a sequence of passing days, but becomes a living sutra, where every action is a lesson, every failure a teaching, and every day of life an opportunity to grow deeper and more compassionate. And it is from this simplicity in living, sincerity in relating, and perseverance in inner practice that the fruits of peace and future fulfillment will gradually bloom, not hastily, not noisily, but with great strength and beauty. Because ultimately, life is not measured by what we possess, but by the depth of being with which we live, and by the kind imprint we leave in the hearts of others.
Peace in life is not the absence of suffering, not the gentle passing of days like a still lake without ripples, but the ability to keep the inner mind from being swept away amidst the turbulent currents of life, just like a lotus petal unstained by mud, or a high mountain standing firm amid storms. Peace of mind is the capacity to remain calm amidst imperfections, without demanding that everything align with our desires. In the teachings of the Buddha, this is the path of mindfulness, of wisdom, and of compassion, a path that does not lead us to avoid life, but helps us face life with a heart free from attachment. When we pause and observe, we will see that most of life's storms arise from our own clinging and attachment. We try to hold on to someone who no longer belongs to us. We try to control a situation that is beyond our capacity. We try to shape life according to an idea that may not reflect reality. All these are burdens on our consciousness, causing us to lose the ability to connect with the present moment, the only place where life truly happens. And so we lose ourselves in the fear of loss, in the desire for control, in regrets about the past and worries about the future. The Buddha once taught
that clinging is the root of suffering. When we no longer see ourselves as the owner of everything, when we realize that all things are impermanent, people come and go, events arise and fade, thoughts shift moment by moment, then letting go is no longer an act of loss, but becomes a manifestation of wisdom and compassion. Letting go here does not mean denying value or turning away from life, but is a clear acceptance without attachment. We still love, but do not possess. We still strive, but do not force. We still live fully, but are not bound.
It is in this letting go that the inner mind has a chance to return to its original stillness, like a quiet lake after heavy rain, like a tranquil forest after a storm. Letting go is also a form of liberation, not from life, but from the illusions we create about life. How many people are unable to enjoy the present just because they cling to a memory long gone? How many live in fear of being hurt and therefore do not dare to open their hearts again? And how many hold on to the ideal that everything must be perfect and thus miss the simple happiness right before their eyes? We suffer not because life fails to meet our expectations, but because we cannot accept that it does not. When the inner mind is illuminated by wisdom, we no longer strive to make everything right according to our subjective view. Instead, we learn to let go of expectations. We learn to live with reality through the eyes of compassion, understanding ourselves and others. Compassion helps us ease the heart in the face of what cannot be changed, and wisdom helps us clearly see what should be held and what should be released. With that, amidst life's changes, our mind remains steady, like a pillar unmoved by praise or blame, gain or loss. A person who lives like this is no longer a victim of circumstances, but becomes the master of their own being. In the Zen tradition, it is taught, the wind blows, leaves move, the mind remains still. Those who follow the Buddha's path do not seek an ideal world without suffering, but cultivate an inner mind wide enough and mindful enough not to suffer from what lies beyond their control.
We do not need to flee from storms, because storms themselves are the training ground for inner resilience. Each time we let go of something no longer suitable, we become a little lighter, a little clearer, and a little more at peace. And gradually, we no longer need the outer world to be tranquil in order to feel peace within, because the root of peace lies not in circumstances, but in our own heart. A mother can be peaceful while raising children amidst countless hardships. A worker can be happy amidst overwhelming pressure. An elderly person can smile serenely even in illness if they know how to let go of unnecessary expectations and live deeply in the present. Such peace is not a gift from the outside, but the result of an inner transformation. When the mind no longer clings to the past, nor fears what is yet to come, then every breath, every step,
every gaze becomes a miracle unfolding. In the end, all we truly have is the present moment. If in this moment we can live with gratitude, with an open heart, then no matter how much the world around us changes, our mind will still be the sun that never sets. And that is true peace, not the absence of storms, but the full presence of mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom.
Ultimately, the path to peace does not lie in avoiding life, nor in forcing the world to change according to our will. True peace is the result of awakening the fruit of wise letting go, the light of insight shining through every rise and fall of experience. When we learn to take a step back and see the impermanent nature of all things, when we are compassionate enough not to blame and wise enough not to cling, then even in the midst of endless change, the mind remains steady, like a lamp that does not go out in the wind. Life continues to flow like a river without pause. But when we choose to live with mindfulness, with unconditional love, and with acceptance free from complaint, each day becomes a firm step on the path of peace. And it is precisely there where the mind is no longer swept away by illusions that we truly return to our purest essence, gentle, free, and vast like the sky and the open sea. That is peace, the kind of peace that remains unmoved amidst all changes.